Do the Spurs have the current pieces to build around either Scoot or Wemby?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs, right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kens 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Season is winding down. A few more games. Got those Austin games ahead. And then the real season begins, the offseason. That's what we're going to be talking about today. The Spurs have secured themselves at least a 14% slot in the upcoming NBA draft lottery. Doesn't mean they're going to win it, but hey, they got the best odds. But what if they do win pick number one? What if the worst case scenario they go to pick number two? We're going to be talking about if the Spurs have the current pieces to build around either a number one pick or a number two pick, and then catch you up with some Spurs news and notes. Thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever we get podcasts. Going to bring in our guest. He is the man, the myth, the legend, the man who pulled a Manu Ginobili for this episode, coming off the bench. He is Rudy Campos of Sweep the League. Rudy, welcome back.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Happy to always be the sixth man to come in, man. That means definitely when you need me.
Manu embraced the role, so I'm pretty sure you're going to embrace the role. Yeah. Then, I always wondered that. Do you think if he gone to another team and was a primary option, he would have been even a bigger stud?
I believe so. I mean, I think if he was on another team, he would be an instant starter, and yeah. I mean, numbers would have been increased by all means.
Yeah. Do you, I think with two teams in his career were chasing him. It was Denver for sure. I remember Denver put a hard push to get him. And then I think it was Philadelphia towards the end of his career that did a little bit of push. But no, glad he stayed a Spur for all his entire NBA career. But hey, it's enough talking about the past. Let's talk about the present and the future. And that is the upcoming draft. Hey, Rudy. The Spurs won a spot in the 14% slot. So, yay, successful season or what?
Oh, yeah. For, Spurs fans out there that embraced the so-called tank, it's a successful season for them. But, it's going to be interesting. Just because you get a 14% chance to get a number one doesn't mean you're going to get it, even though in the past when Tim Duncan was drafted in his draft, they had the third worst record in the league. Kind of the same thing they're in now. Yeah. So is it deja vu again? We'll find out.
Yeah, I sure hope so. But let's go and dive into it. So in the first segment, we're going to talk about Wembanyama. So let's just say the basketball gods smile on the Spurs. Y'all went through some suffering for an entire season. Here's your prize, the number one pick, win the draft lottery. So, yay, obvious it's going to be Wemby. But, Rudy, if the Spurs just roll with the team they have right now, no offseason moves, do they have the current pieces to build around Wemby, yes or no?
For current pieces right now, I would say yes, they have the current pieces, but it'd be a more difficult rebuild with the current pieces they have. Wembanyama, yes, he's being called a generational talent. And the one thing that you don't see around him and something that a lot of people don't realize is that he's just at a generational talent. Does he make a team better? Individually, he makes a team better, obviously. He's, 7'4", he's skilled, he's athletic, but it's just him. What does he do for his teammates? I think he only averages around, if I'm not mistaken, it's probably like 2 assists a game. So, I mean, it's the fact that it's going to be concentrated on Wembanyama when it comes to the Spurs. So if you're looking at comparisons like that, it's teams that play against Dallas with Luka Doncic. They kind of center on him, expect the team to win around him. And a lot of times, he's holding the ball till he's like 5 seconds left on the shot clock, passing it off, and your team is like in a bad situation. So right now they have the pieces, yes, around him, but they would need to surround him with a few more pieces in order to be successful as a team.
Yeah, I think the Spurs have the current pieces to build around Wemby. Sohan and Wemby, nice combo there. Sohan, Wemby, Vassell, really, really good combo. Sohan, Wemby, Vassell, Keldon Johnson, I really think that is a great little core you're going to start developing. You push forward with the development of Malachi Branham, guy who can make some space and hit down those outside shots. And I think they'll be okay. Blake Wesley, and I think I would not be surprised if he's in the Austin G League again next season. honing his craft. It's not uncommon. DeJounte and Lonnie, those recent examples, they spent freshman, sophomore years in Austin G League. And I can see that. I think that's a great little budding production there. And then you have bigs that can carry the load for him in the paint, going up against your Joel Embiids, your Jokers, they got Zach Collins, Charles Bassey. We forgot about him. So I think the Spurs definitely have really good pieces to build around Wemby, and I think he's going to be surrounded by that type of talent. It's obviously an upgrade from where he's at right now, the Metropolitans. So,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that this young team, and especially the guys we just named right now, got themselves a crash course in the NBA way and / system. I think that's gonna bode well if the Spurs do get Wemby. But they say Wemby is very interchangeable, playing with the 5, 4, the 3. I mean, this guy can play it all. You mentioned it, generational. Do you think the Spurs will do that, or go traditional route and keep him either at the 4 or the 5 spot?
The smart thing to do, and I mean, I'm coming from a coach's perspective because I used to coach ball. The smart thing to do is to put him down below. Craft his game, down below. Hey, great, you can hit the outside jumper. That's fantastic. We can work with that. But he's got to be able to play in the post. And this is where I look at the Wemby part is this. I've been so against drafting Wembanyama because I'm watching game film a lot, and people, we got a lot of Spurs couch fans out there that are so negative on people that are against Wemby, and I'm not against him. Great guy, great player, but look at the film, a lot of the film, and I've talked to a couple of past NBA guys with me looking at it, and they all say the same thing. Nobody's playing defense on the guy. The one film you can get where a guy has him in the post, he gets manhandled in the post.
Yeah.
But there's really playing lackluster defense. So we haven't really gotten a true feel of what he can do. Now against NBA talent, it's faster, it's quicker. He's so tall that when the ball goes down on his dribble, you've got smaller guys, Steph Curry and these guys that are going to be able to get to that ball pretty damn quick. So I think if I'm the Spurs and you have Wemby, you've got to teach him in the post. You got to bulk him up some and, teach him to understand, look, you can't hold the ball for, 15, 16 seconds dribbling around, trying to make a move, trying to get to the basket. This is a quicker league. It's fast. You've got to make your decision right away. And that's why I think it really hurts Keldon and Devins, for them to improve, because if he's going to have the ball in his hand, he's going to be dominant of it. What does that do for Keldon? He's not a great shooter. I mean, he's struggling from the 3-point range. Devin is, he's going to have probably limited time to get his shot off. So I've got more concerns than I do, than anything else when it comes to Wembanyama on the Spurs.
Yeah, I just think that Wemby is so different as we've seen in the footage. Of course, obviously they're hyping him up right now, but from what we see, knocking down threes, I think he has a more reliable 3 shot than maybe even a guy like Keldon. So, yeah. I just think he'll do well as far as opening up that court for guys like Keldon who like to attack the rim. Guys like we saw Malachi Branham attack the rim as well. So I think the Spurs definitely have the young pieces to build around him. Now, can I see them make little small moves, just to build around Wemby? Yeah, little ones, but nothing major. Nothing was going to gut the roster. Bringing a more of a veteran presence, perhaps, a guy that's beefier. Well, they already have it with Bassey, but to really shoulder the load and back him up. But no, I don't think the Spurs will put him at the 5 spot as much. I think they definitely will tinker with the 4. But yeah, that just goes to show you exactly how generational Wemby can be. We've seen this road before, Rudy. Remember Greg Oden? So hopefully it doesn't turn into that when we get. Yeah, I'm sorry. You got any other final thoughts on Wemby?
I was just going to say, I really hope it doesn't turn into a Greg Oden or Michael Olowokandi situation. The game film doesn't show it, but you know what? The game film on those guys was fantastic too. So you never know. Until they get into the league, you really don't know.
Absolutely. He is Rudy Campos of Sweep the League right here on Locked On Spurs. Make sure to check out his show, Sweep the League. Follow him on Twitter at Sweep the League. I want to talk to you about prize picks. Hey, do you love playing daily fantasy? Then you got to try prize picks. So, how does it work? Well, you pick 2 to 6 players, and if they're going to score more or less than their prize pick projection, you can win up to 25 times on your money on any entry. No competing against other people, just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport you watch. This includes NBA, NHL, MLB, NFL, college basketball, men's college football, WNBA, esports, NASCAR, tennis, MMA, boxing, disc golf, and so much more, even cricket and Euro basketball. Entries can be made in just 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. Safe and fast withdrawals, currently operational in over 30 states and in Canada. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com right now to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First time users, listen up. You can get yourself a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with using promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks gives you $100. You deposit $50, PrizePicks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with our guest, Rudy Campos of Sweep the League, and we're talking about the NBA draft. And if the Spurs do win picks number 1 or 2, do the Spurs have the current pieces to build around that player? So we took care of Wemby in the first segment. Now let's take on Scoot Henderson. Now I know there's some rumblings that him could fall out of the number 2 spot, 3 or 4, but just for this show's case and argument, we're going to go with Scoot at number 2. This gets interesting. Do the Spurs have the pieces to build around Scoot? What do you think, Rudy?
100% they do. I am really high when it comes to Scoot on the San Antonio Spurs because this team would fit so much better with a starting point guard like Scoot Henderson, guy who's very gifted, who can get to the basket, who can create for his teammates. He's a point guard that you definitely build around. I can guarantee you this, by him getting to the basket, you're going to see Keldon having a lot more open three-point shots from the corner. Kind of reminds you of like when they used to camp Bruce Bowen off to the side in the corner and he was knocking down that three. Scoot gives you that kind of mentality on the team. It's going to open up a lot for Devin as well. Devin's going to get a lot more easier baskets. I think a guy like Zach Collins, if he is your starting 5, it's going to be a lot easier on the pick and rolls for him. He can do a lot of pop and shot. There's just so much that you can do with Scoot Henderson as far as the team goes that I feel you can do with Wemby. And it's more of you've got guys, and the biggest guy is Sohan. I mean, getting to the basket for Scoot, Sohan cuts to the basket a lot quicker, a lot easier. Mm-hmm. His shots are going to be, damn near by the rim. I mean, right at the rim. So overall, Scoot makes it easier for the talent that the Spurs have right now. As where Wembanyama, you're going to basically say, okay, so you have Sohan. Wembanyama is trying to do this. Sohan's just going to be in the paint, trying to clog it, trying to get rebounds. It definitely hinders his development on that one. But as far as Scoot goes, man, I mean, it's a point guard. It's a no-brainer. Point guard leads the team, makes everybody better around him, and that's what I see. This team is built for a guy like Scoot Henderson right now.
It's so interesting. You and I differ so much on this topic right now, with Wemby and now Scoot, because I think Wemby makes everybody better on the court, current roster for the Spurs if they don't flip. Just strictly saying that the pieces they have right now to build. With Scoot, I think they would probably have to make roster adjustments because you now have a clog at that position. Malachi, Blake, Trey Jones, obviously Scoot. So we'll see, who knows if Devontae Graham is still here. I don't think he will be if Scoot's, in uniform. So I think you probably will have to do some roster adjustments. I wouldn't be surprised if they send Blake Wesley back to Austin for that reason because Scoot's there.
Yeah.
Minutes are probably going to be cut down for Trey Jones. Imagine Trey Jones, a starting point guard this entire season, and then a rookie comes in and sorry, buddy, you're back to the bench. I mean, unless he's okay with that, but I could definitely see maybe them flipping him, to make space. I don't know. I mean, that's a thought, but I don't know if they'll tinker with the 2-headed monster of him and Trey Jones. I think that's dumb. I think you need some size in the backcourt, but not to say that Scoot doesn't have it. He's a big kid, but no, I think you probably would have to make roster adjustments with Scoot Henderson. And you talk about ball dominant. I mean, I think he's very ball dominant. He will. I mean, they compare him to Westbrook at his prime. And Westbrook at his prime was very ball dominant. And I think, a lot of the plays are going to go through him. I can see Wemby being able to pass out of the post to see over the defenses, find open players, cutting players. I think that will open up the court more so for the current players than maybe a Scoot Henderson. But it sounds to me, Rudy, that you have more high hopes in Scoot than Wemby. Why is that?
Yeah, with me, like I said, I think with the current roster build, when it comes to Scoot Henderson, but both guys are ball dominant. Let's not be real. Both guys are ball dominant.
Yeah.
They're going to command the ball and they're going to command the rock. They're going to want theirs. So I definitely get that. With me, it's Scoot Henderson. It's a fast-paced game, and you've got guys that love to run on the break. Where I see it is that breaking down the defense. I think that's something that Scoot offers a lot more than Wemby does. Wemby, just look at the film. Everybody can look at the film. Wemby is so slow. His moves are so slow, and it's not a very good thing in today's fast NBA. It really is not. You've got to be quick. Your decision making has to be fast.
Mm-hmm.
He gets the ball. He drills up the court. He's between his legs. He's doing a spin move. He's trying to get to the basket. He does get to the basket. It just looks like you're watching it, on VHS, a lot of his tape. And it's just really, really slow. And that's nothing, like I said, nothing against the player. If he's a Spur, will they have success? They'll have success, but I don't see instant like playoff team or, hey, we're going to this or we're going to be, this high of a seed. I don't see anything like that. And that goes for both players. There's not going to be a point where I'm like, okay, guaranteed playoffs. There is not a guarantee for the playoffs for both teams. For both players coming into the Spurs.
Right.
And I just think for Scoot, I think more of it is building around him. It's right now. Basically, the team that they've got is better built for Scoot Henderson than Wembanyama, only because of Brandon. If McDermott's here, okay, but if Brandon and Vassell, those are only your two shooters. Maybe Devontae Graham.
Yeah.
You can't really rely on Sohan or Keldon to be, shooters if Wemby passes out of a double team. So it's basically comes down to who makes the game easier for this team. And for me, it starts at the point guard for Scoot Henderson.
Wow. Yeah, just really different on this topic right here with you, because I look at Scoot and this good talent, great talent. Oh no, Spurs get number 2, they get a Scoot. Oh no, not that. But I just think, just as you mentioned about Wemby's highlights, like showing like nobody really playing defense on him, I don't think we see a lot more offensive highlights than defensive highlights out of Scoot Henderson. What can he bring on the defensive end? Is he matador defense? I like to see that a little bit more. And then there's, just as much as there's some negative talk regarding Wemby and his size, his frame, and you mentioned right now that nobody really plays defense on him. Vice versa, just like Scoot. You're hearing rumblings that he may slip out of the number 2 spot, that he lacks on defense, that he takes plays off. So we'll see. Look, every talent is going to come into the NBA with some, improvement. For Wemby, we know what it is. For Scoot, we know what it's going to be. But it's a great position for the Spurs to be in. But I'm going to throw a wild card at you when we get back. Talk about this topic and much, much more right here on Locked On Spurs with Rudy Campos of Sweep the League. Built Bar March Madness is here. We know you love your favorite bar or puff, and now's the time to make it count. Go to builtmarchmadness.com to vote for your favorites. I'll be voting for the churro bar. That's definitely one of my favorites. And if you want your team to win, then you'll be voting for that bar too. Support your team by supporting your bar or puff. And when you go vote for your favorite bar or puff, you'll be entering into a drawing where 50 lucky Locked On listeners get a free box of Built. Not only that, but one Locked On fan will win a 12-month subscription to Built to have Built's best bar or puffs delivered monthly straight to your door. You got to have a Built. You got to try it right now. It's the best protein bar ever. Seriously. They're so amazing. You won't even think they're good for you. What makes Built bars and puffs so good? Well, they're high in protein, low in sugar, covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. Run to builtmarchmadness.com right now. Vote for your favorite bar or puff and pick up a box while you're there. You can vote every day in March, so hop on in and support your pick. And now it's time to talk about my favorite new advertiser here, right here on Locked On Spurs, and it is Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. Hey, San Antonio, you stay up late catching the end of the Spurs game? You need a pick-me-up? Well, look no further than Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. Mudslingers is locally owned and independent coffee shop, and they're proud to make delicious coffee for our community. They do it fast and friendly, so you can get on with your day. Whether you're in the mood for a latte, cold brew, or a Red Bull infused lightning bolt, I really want that like right now. They have the drinks for every taste. And they also have a wide selection of dairy alternatives, low calorie options, and even caffeine free drinks for those who just want to take it easy. Not like me. If you're going to take it easy, go for it. Go to Mudslingers right now. I still got to try that Red Bull infused lightning bolt. I need like two of them, one for now, one for later. So swing on by Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee for a tasty and convenient caffeine fix. Located at 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive near 281 and 1604. They're open every day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. 2404 Thousand Oaks near 281 and 1604. Life is too short for bland coffee. We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Rudy Campos of Sweep the League. Follow him on Twitter at Sweep the League. Tell him he is absolutely wrong and that you totally agree with me, everybody. Let him know that he's way off base. We're talking about if the Spurs' current roster has the pieces to build around a number 1 or number 2 pick, Wemby or Scoot, in next season, should the Spurs land at number 1, number 2. Now, here's the wild card. Spurs don't get number 1. They don't get number 2. They get number 3. And Brandon Miller is there. Is he the wild card that could make Rudy Campos smile? Like, yeah, we have the pieces, let's roll. Or no, we're going to have to do some tinkering.
Oh, man. Brent, you know what? At number 3, if I'm the Spurs at 3, I'm probably trying to trade down in this draft. I'm trying to get, a little bit more draft capital, maybe a couple of players here and there. But I'm just going to say basically what I've told other podcasts. This is a role players draft. There's no mega superstars outside of
you including Wemby in this as well?
No. I'm saying outside of 1 and 2.
Oh, outside
Wemby
of 1 and 2.
Scoot,
Okay.
Yeah, Scoot and Wemby. This is kind of like a role players type of draft. I mean, you're going to have stars. There's going to be stars, but guys that are going to come in that are going to be, this talented, and we're going to get, we're getting Nick Jokic in the second round. A lot of these guys have so much of that P word, and that's potential. And that's the sad part about drafting in the NBA is that majority of these guys are so hyped. You see the highlight films, and one tapes are everywhere for these guys, and that's what you buy into. You got to look at the actual games. Brandon Miller already made a difficult, he already had a tough decision, a tough choice in his college career with that whole gun scandal thing. Then you go into the NCAA tournament, you have to have a massive, massive performance to negate that. He goes out and he has 0 points. I have people on Twitter, you're giving him a tough time, but he was injured. The injury came after, that whole report came after the game. So, okay, cool. You still want to play? Great, you're playing. He had a miserable NCAA tournament, didn't do anything for him. So I guess on this Brandon Miller terms, I'm not taking Brandon Miller at 3. You've got the Thompson twins. You've got, I think, Nick Smith Jr. is another one. There's a couple of guys that I do look at 3, but nobody that I'm salivating at 3. It's just kind of like, okay, either trade down or just draft best player available or best potential player available, talent-wise. To me, this is probably one of the weaker drafts. This is what I was going to say.
Interesting. Yeah, and here's the thing, too, with the Thompson bros, they were the overtime elite, so we can't even see them going up against the NCAA tournament field, against that level of competition. Nothing wrong with overtime elite. It's been producing a lot of good talent. Look at the Spurs backyard, Barlow. There could be something there as he develops. But yeah, Miller is interesting just because the off the court issues with the gun scandal. And then, of course, his bad play at the NCAA tournament. Is that going to hurt his stock? I think it will. I think teams are kind of going to pause a bit if his name is on the board. I like the idea of trading down. I really do like that idea. I think you have to consider that if you don't get 1 or 2, because as time is passing and the draft lottery gets closer than the draft itself, you're starting to kind of grasp like, well, maybe this is as deep of a draft as anybody thought of.
Mhm.
If we go with that mindset, Rudy, and if the Spurs don't get one or two and they fall three or down, I think was it the worst they can get a seventh? I think that's the way the numbers play out.
Yeah.
Um, Man, that's this rebuild may continue a little longer, wouldn't it? If they don't get one or two.
Yeah, it's going to take a while. I mean, it's the rebuild's going to happen. In a few years, you're going to be able to get the Spurs back into the playoffs. And not saying if they were to get Wemby or Scoot that they wouldn't make the play-in. I think for me, the play-in is like, okay, that's very possible on a play-in spot. Playoffs, it's a little bit tougher. But then again, it's so weird because you and I are sitting here talking about, if they get Wemby, maybe they're making the playoffs. Well, not necessarily. It's playing. Okay, well, maybe they struggle. Who knows what could happen in the offseason? The West could be completely flipped on its backside. You could see guys going out east, and then the East is just superb, and the West has, some teams like Portland may end up losing Dame Lillard. So that's one team that the Spurs could jump over. Who knows what happens in New Orleans? Zion might be moved, and Brandon Ingram may say, "I don't want a part of this anymore." He's gone. So they can jump over teams depending on what happens in the offseason. But if it stays the way it is right now, I mean,
Mhm.
drafting Scooter Wemby, to me, it's probably playing. You're fighting for that play-in spot for the meantime. It's going to take a couple more drafts to actually get this team on the upside of like a Sacramento or an OKC right now. But unless they go out and get a massive talent, which again, that's a whole nother show because we know how people don't really like coming to San Antonio.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's interesting to see what the Spurs are going to do if they don't get pick one or two. Good problem to have if they do get it, because then you can look at the pieces around surrounding the Scooter or Wemby. And also, too, Popovich has been making it clear that these last few games, they're looking at talent to see who's going to be with the team moving forward. So they're obviously preparing already for next season with the eye to hopefully winning that draft lottery. And you don't have to believe us. Look at the Spurs injury report every time it comes out. If that doesn't
Mm.
scream, what the assignment is, and I don't know what is. But let's wrap up. Rudy, catch everybody up with some quick news and notes for your San Antonio Spurs. Just quickly, don't forget the last two quote unquote home games will be in Austin, called the I-35 Series. Tickets are still available. It's a game against the Blazers and the Wolves. Spurs are basically taking over Austin. That makes Spurs fans nervous. They hate it. But nevertheless, I want to reassure everybody that you need to listen to last week's episode of Locked On Spurs with Brandon James of the San Antonio Spurs. He's the VP of Basketball Administration and the General Counsel. Yeah, Rudy, I had that guy on. When did Locked On Spurs get that kind of level of a guest coming on? But nevertheless, he came on. Go to the YouTube page, listen to what he has to say about San Antonio being home base. That should make y'all feel a lot better. So make sure for that, check it out. Also, kudos to the Spurs and the Ashley Home Store. They recently donated a bunch of furniture to a youth center in San Antonio. And I believe Rudy, Trey Jones, and Doug McDermott, they were on hand to deliver the furniture. However, they showed off that they have a green thumb. They started potting plants and getting in the garden. Who knew? Who knew?
Who knew, right? Who
Do you
knew?
plant?
It would be.
Do you ever garden?
No, man.
You never have.
I'm a desk guy. I work behind a desk, and that's about it. I have no skills of my hands as gardening or anything like that. So I'm a Central
I
Catholic grad. Come on, man.
Yeah, but there you go. No, I always tell everybody like I'm too much of a city guy, like bad. Like
Yeah.
I am just 100% city guy, and I tell people I'll make an effort. I'll try. Tiling goes off. I know to get the little that caulking gun and do that. But if something
Mm,
major happens, like a pipe burst in underneath a sink, and I'm done. I'm done. Call somebody. No, I'm done. I ain't
yeah.
gonna do it. Yeah, I'm like that level. I'm too much of a city guy, but I give it the old 1-2 punch. I try my best. But there's some quick Spurs news and notes. Rudy, what's going on with Sweep?
Sweep the League, we are just coming off of the Taylor Cook-off, probably a big success, and then we've also got more episodes coming up to where we're going to get more into baseball. Football season is already winding down. We got the NBA playoffs coming up, but Now it's a little bit of baseball talk, and we've been getting a lot into city talk, San Antonio talk, which you would definitely love, Jeff, because Candace, one of our staffers, decided to bring up, do y'all remember the old store Wieners? And I'm like, oh, crap, I forgot about that store.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, she brought one from way out of left field. But yeah, that's what we're doing. We're diving into San Antonio history.
I remember Spaghetti Warehouse.
Yes, Spaghetti Warehouse. Jeez,
I think I only went there twice when it was around.
I did too, 2 times.
Yeah, I didn't really go as much. Yeah, I know everybody loved it. Oh, Spaghetti Warehouse. But
I didn't get the hype.
It was just an Italian restaurant. It was just the name of it, Spaghetti Warehouse. It was cool. It's cool. Oh, I went to Spaghetti Warehouse. I'm surprised Magic Time Machine is still around.
You and I both are
am surprised that that's still around. Good Lord, that thing will never go. It survived the freaking pandemic, and it's still going. But if you want to hear a lot about that type of talk and more, make sure to check out Rudy's show, Sweep the League. Follow him on Twitter @SweepTheLeague. And make sure your second listen is Locked On Game to Game NBA. Every moment, every recap, every stat. Locked On Game to Game brings you everything you need to know about the NBA. Check it out on the Odyssey app, YouTube, just like Locked On Spurs on the Odyssey app, YouTube, as well as Kens 5 Plus. So for Rudy Campos, I am Jeff Garcia. We're putting a lot on this episode of Locked On Spurs.